Chords and Coffee number 31. Take you a quick drink of whatever it is you're drinking. Behave yourself out there. Hey, speaking of behaving, we're going to talk about the major scale. And I've got a question to answer from Charles regarding the Dreamy Thirds from the 2-chord vamp lessons. I want to make sure I get to both of those things. But real quick, thank you. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for sharing these videos. Every time you write a comment, I don't know if you know this or not, but the YouTube algorithm, however that works, puts these videos out into folks' YouTube feed that haven't even heard of what we're doing here. And we've had some folks stumble across our channel. So thank you. Every time you do that, it helps push these videos further out there into the world, but it also makes it possible for me to be able to devote more time to do these videos. So thank you. Keep those comments coming. You are building community one comment at a time, and I am grateful. So thank you. So speaking of which, there was several comments on the last video regarding, hey, let's talk about the major scale. So the major scale, let's do it in G, all right? Got my Taylor back. I bought this in 2001. This is a Taylor 410 CE, and I have played the snot out of it. Look at all that wear that's on there and everything else. I had to have it refretted. I got some inexpensive strings on there. I'm probably going to put some nicer ones on here, but I'm just glad to have it back because it was dead. It was brought back to life by the Plek machine. Anyway, the major scale. It is not just something that you learn and go, okay, got it. I use it as a tool all the time. It's a fantastic improvisational tool. It's also a great compass to know where you're at. And also, it's a good, it's just a good practice device, right? So here we go. For those of you who know this already, hang with me. Don't go anywhere. We'll get to something a little bit beyond this. But for those of you who don't, this is great. Here we go. G major scale, first timers. The fingers are important. Index finger is going to live on the 2nd fret. Middle finger is going to live on the 3rd fret. Ring finger is going to live on the 4th fret and pinky on the 5th. So playing a little zone defense here, okay? So start with the middle finger, or low E string, 3rd fret. There's your G note. Pinky on the 5th fret of the low E, 5th fret of the low E, that's A. Index finger, 2nd fret of the A string, that's your B note. And then middle finger on the 3rd fret of the A string, that is your C note. Pinky on the 5th fret of the A string, and that is your 5th note, as well as D. So quick recap. So starting on the low E, 3, 5, and then on the A, 2, 3, 5. And then now we're on the D string, index finger, 2nd fret. Now ring finger, 4th fret, and then pinky on the 5th. Playing that, try to pick down, up, down, up, down, up. So down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Okay, that's all there is to it. What good's that for, Nate? Well, I'm going to tell you. So first of all, think of these as numbers too. So this is the 1, this is the 2, this is the 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8 is 1 again, okay? So 8 is the octave, right? So why is that significant to assign numbers to those letters, those notes? Because the notes are G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and G. Well, the reason that's significant, have you ever seen a chord symbol and you didn't know what it meant? Like, you ever see G6, right? And you're like, well, what in the world's a G6? Well, it's just a G chord with a 6 added to it. Well, what's a 6? Well, let's count up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What note is that? G, A, B, C, D, E. The way the major scale thing works is if you can memorize the alphabet from A to G, all right? A, B, C, D, E, F, G. As far as I know, there is no H. I could be wrong. Comment below. But if you can memorize just that much, and then you can memorize your sharps and flats. And that's no different than memorizing the code to your garage door. You can do it, okay? If you can memorize that, then you'll know exactly where you're at, anywhere on the neck, right? But you'll also know what some of these exotic chord letter number configurations mean. So a G6, like I said, is just a G with an E in it, right? So here's a good old G chord. Take that top finger off, put an E in there. Or if you make it like this, there's a G6, or you can make it like this, or you can, like this, or so on and so forth. It keeps going, right? The major scale is a compass to tell you the notes that are in these chords. Like when you see like a G13, well, what you'll find out is that G13 is a G major chord that's got a dominant 7 in it, okay, which is a flat 7. A 7 in this case would be F sharp. A flat 7 would be F natural. And then it's got an E, but that E specifically is in the next octave up. That's why it's a 13. Right? We'll get to that. We'll get to it. But what I'm trying to tell you is that learning the major scale is not just some sort of, seesaw, kindergarten level exercise that you just never use again. It's super important. I use it all the time as an improvisational tool, okay? But let me show you another way to play it. Actually, I'm going to show you 2 more ways to play it. So first of all, there's this, right? You can keep going. I kept going. Okay? So basically what happens is once I get to here, I'm going to do that exact same thing again where I'm going to start on the index finger of the second fret with my index finger on the G string, and then ring finger on the 4th fret of the G, pinky on the 5th fret of the G, and then now middle finger on the 3rd fret of the B, and then pinky on the 5th fret of the B, and then index on the 2nd fret of the high E. Right? So from here, so the whole thing, you've got this 2-octave major scale. Right? That's really good. What's cool about that is I like when you get up here, if you remember like in our BB box kind of pentatonic lesson that we were talking about, you can kind of see there's some major scale pieces there. If I just add this, there it is. Right? Anyway, I like how everything is connected like that. It gives me a sense of peace. All right, so now, speaking of connectivity, this is the 3 notes per string major scale. I like this one a lot. Use it all the time. Here's how this shakes out. Again, we're doing this in G. So index finger, 3rd fret. And what's cool about, well, I'll show you. Index finger, 3rd fret, okay, low E. Middle finger, 5th fret. And then pinky, 7th fret. Right? Thumb placement is critical. If that feels uncomfortable, your thumb is too far this way, let it slide back here, okay? So your hand can feel a little more flat. Just like that, right? Remember, you kind of want to be able to do this with your thumb. And so I'm kind of almost right here in between my middle finger on the top 3rd of the neck, if that makes sense. It does. Right? Now I'm going to go to the A string and do the exact same thing. Right? Now, and so 3, 5, 7 on the A, and then now on the D, I'm going to go 4, 5, 7, okay? And then do the exact same thing on the G. So quick recap, 3, 5, 7 on the low E, 3, 5, 7 on the A, 4, 5, 7, 4, 5, 7 on the D and G, and then 5, 7, 8 on the B. And if you want to keep going, it won't sound resolved because it won't be, but you can go 5, 7, 8 on this string, on the high E string too. The reason I like that, and if you practice this, there's all this great legato stuff that you can pick up. Legato meaning you hit the string one time and hit all 3 notes. So there's a lot of cool technique that you can get in your left hand and get that strong. But that's a great one to use. And plus also the way that lays out, it kind of lends itself to being able to kind of slide because it takes place over such a wide lay of the land, right? So it lends itself to being able to kind of keep moving in this up the neck kind of fashion or down the neck, right? So there's 2 versions of the major scale. So how do I practice that? And I know we're getting long in our time, but stay with me. This is good. And I'm going to get to Dreamy Thirds here in a second. Well, let's just pick a simple activity. So what if I'm playing a G chord, right? And what if I just added a little melody out of the major scale? Right? So I'm just going open G, 2nd fret of the G, 4th fret of the G. So what am I doing? So I'm just holding down this low G on the 3rd fret of the low E with my middle finger. The A is dampened. And then I'm playing open strings. I'm not playing the high E. Stopping on the B string. But I'm playing that lick. Maybe come back down. Now, I'm going to take this exact same activity. Now I'm just going to move my index finger to the 3rd fret of the A, where I get this C note. And maybe I'll land on the 2nd fret of the D string to make that C feel a little more like a full C chord. Even though it's a C major 7 because I've got this B note in it. But you see what I'm doing? I'm just adding a major scale, very simple melody to a couple of bass notes. And I'm using my index and pinky, by the way, to make those notes happen. And that is just one little activity. Let's change the key. Let's do it in C. Do a good old-fashioned cowboy C chord. I know you know that. If I go like this, where I'm playing a C, and then I hammer on the 3rd fret of the B, and then play that high E open like that. Then I go to F major 7. Where basically I've got my index finger here on the 1st fret of the B, middle finger is on the 2nd fret of the G, and then ring finger is on the 3rd fret of the D. And I got my pinky now doing sort of the same thing, this time on the B string, where I'm playing 1st fret, which this guy's already holding down, and then I'm going to hammer on the 3rd fret of the B, and then play that open E string again. So. What good is that, Nate? Well, I'm going to tell you. There's a lot of times where playing guitar, you need to come up with counter melodies, or you need to come up with little tiny melodies, or some folks call them hooks in songs, where it's just a little melody that lifts the interest of a section of music and pulls the listener in a little bit deeper. I promise you, if you sit around and you play one of those two little exercises I just gave you, even though it's 2 chords, and you're playing, and do your own rhythm. Do your own variation of that melody. It doesn't have to be exactly what I did. But I promise you, if you're sitting on the back porch drinking your glass of tea and there's somebody sitting next to you, you keep playing that, and when you get to where you feel comfortable and you're playing it, somebody's going to say, "What is that?" And you might say something like, "Well, it's just something me and a buddy came up with while we were drinking coffee," right? So, to that end, let's move on to Dreamy Thirds. This is for Charles. Charles, I want to make sure I say your name right. This was back on the 2-chord vamp video that we did. Let me pull my video back up. This is Charles Murfield. And he said, "Hey, show me how to play those Dreamy Thirds." Remember we did that. So it's the same thing. I'm doing the major scale. This time I'm doing it in the key of C, right? And I'm holding down this F note. But let me just give you these notes before you start worrying about trying to keep the bass going. So I'm on the 12th fret. So 12 and 12 of the high E and the G string. So that's the thunder. What is it? Thunder only happens. I can't hear the vocal melody anyway. That's why I'm not a singer. Anyway, so So we got this, dun, dun, da, 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 da. So 12 down to 10. And then this is 8 and 9 to, so 8 and 9 to 10 and 10, back to 8 and 9. So it, dun, dun, da, da. Yeah, so then 8 and 9, and then to 10 and 10 on the D and the B string. And then this is 8 and 9 of the 8 on the D and then 9 on the B. Right? And then do it again. Players only. And then this is 15 on the high E and 16 on the G. And then back to 12 and 12. And then 10, 12. And then 8 and 9. And then 10 and 10 on the G and the B. I think I told you wrong a second ago. After this, that's what it does. 10, 12, 10. And then back to that 8 and 9 on the high E and the G. And then 10 and 10 on the B and G. And then 8 and 9 on the B and G. So there you have it. I sure do appreciate you, friends. Again, thank you for your comments. Thank you for your questions and your interaction. And I love it when you talk amongst yourselves, too, on these videos. So keep it up. It encourages me. Y'all have a great rest of your day. Keep playing guitar, and we'll see you next week.